Right then, welcome back, part 4. Looking a lot more like a cake now. But don't give up on us yet. So we've got a long way to go to get the final result. And what we're going to move on to now is the sprinkles along the top. As you can see in the rendered image, you can see scattered across the surface on top of the icing, loads of dark chocolate and light chocolate coloured sprinkles. In order to achieve that, we're going to introduce you to a new tool in Blender. If you come across the top, all these different sections, as you know, so we've used shading. That's an example. But for now, we're going to be going to a new one called Geometry Nodes. Now, let's bring you to a new menu. I know it's a lot different to what we used to, but don't worry, it's all fairly simple. On the left-hand side here, we have the spreadsheet. Absolutely no use for it at all. So if you just join them together by pressing right-click, press Join Areas, and click on the left-hand side. So then we must select the icing. And going down to where it presses New, click that, and then got this little blueprint, I like to call it, here. All this basically is saying is that it's inputted geometry, which is the mesh, and it goes through any changes to bring out the output, whatever the difference is. At the moment, there's no change, so there is no different look. So essentially, all geometry nodes are like you create your own tools, sort of thing. It allows you to basically create things that Blender doesn't do for you. For example, what we want to do that, let's press add something to it. Press Shift A, like you'd add a mesh. We're going to go to instances. Not instance on points, sorry. Sorry, not instances, point. And distribute point on faces. We just hover it over until that line turns from green to white. It means that it will join it automatically, like so. As you can see now, it's distributed different points along the mesh. So these will be used as references for when we add the sprinkles. But now we've got another problem. That problem being the icing's gone. It's just the points. Obviously, we want the points and the icing because we want it to rest on top of the icing. So you'll find yourself using this tool quite a lot in the future because if you want to add to it, you need to include the previous geometry. So you press Shift A, Geometry, Join Geometry. You can just join that there. And obviously, you can see it's got a green circle here. This one's a bit more extended. This means it can accept more inputs. So you just add that there. And then you've got the icing and the points. Much better. Right then, so before we continue, let's switch to material mode. The layout. Now we need an actual sprinkle. So pressing Shift A. And we go to mesh, and we got UV sphere, sorry. And obviously we're going to have loads of sprinkles along the top, which means we want it to be as low resolution and low poly count as possible, while still maintaining a good look, so to speak. So if you're running it on a powerful PC with a good GPU, you could probably get away with an 8. I'm going to slightly lower this, 10.6. If you have a very poor running computer, laptop, you can go lower. Try not to go too low, because obviously you still see you've got these jagged edges here, which we'll fix later. With that done now, we can scale that down. We need to be really small, so we're going to, instead of scaling it normally, we want it to be a bit more accurate, so we're going to press N. This brings up this transform tab. Yep. I'm just going to scale it to 1:1. We're going to go with. In order to do that quickly, you can just drag it down, press enter. And if I now press period, let's just click off. not period, sorry, forward slash, it'll look on there. So yeah, that's an alright size. Let's just see it in comparison to maybe a little bit bigger actually. So I'm going to go back to the scale, this point one, and just do that for all the different axes. Leave it like that for now. If we need to tweak it, we can tweak it, not a problem at all. Going back to the geometry nodes, as you can see now that the sphere selected, we can no longer see it. All the work that we just did has just gone, it's disappeared. That's because we have the sphere selected instead of the icing selected. So it will only show you the geometry of what's selected. If you do want to keep it on the screen, no matter what you're choosing, you can just press this pin button here. Press the pin button, and I press the plane, or press the sphere, the camera. It's still there, affecting just that. So, in order to bring this into the scene, you simply just drag it in, just like that. And then we need to do a little bit of work to get that to show. So now we press Shift A. We go to instances on points. We join that to there. So now what it's saying that points have disappeared because what is visible on the points is whatever's in the instance. So now we just simply join the geometry up to the instance. And it's already far too big, but I'm not too worried about that. I can now use these scales to scale it down. So that wasn't right. So if we just write this link again, we go back to layouts and we go back to sphere. For you guys, it should say 0.1 still. So then we want to confirm and apply that scale. So if you press apply and press scale, it should now turn to 0.1 to 1, like mine has just done there. So then we go back to the geometry nodes. And then we join the geometry up. These should all say 1. We'll just show you what it looks like if you've just got 1. You can see it's quite large and it's quite washed. We can leave the z-axis at 1 for now and return this one to 0.5 on the x and y. That's a much better size. I still believe that's a bit too... Then we can go smaller than that. Let's try 0.25. How does that look? That looks a bit better. And then we can change the density to just cover it all over. But obviously now the problem created is that it's overlapping on each other. That is not what we want. So in order to fix this, we go from random and we change that option there. So what this does is it now creates the minimum distance. We can change this to 0.01, for instance. We'll change the density max. It's a bit too small, so we'll change this to 0.02. It's still quite clumped up. We'll try 0.1. It's much better. Much better. Point. It's just small tweaks until you find 0.08. The right amount of size. And obviously now the second problem created is that it's a bit everywhere, a bit all over the place, even the underside. And we don't really want this, to be honest. So if you look at the cake, it's kind of just sprinkled along the top. Don't want it all over the sides. So this is to introduce you to another tool called white painting. So if you go here, we select vertex paint. It's just like the sculpting brush in terms of the way you can draw the radius. Should leave the strength at 1, make life a bit easier, and then we just click. I'm sorry, so I forgot into the layout mode rather than the geometry node. Go back to layout. Go to white paint. Name it blue. So if you click, just like so, you see it lights up red. So the blue values mean 0 and the red values mean 1. I don't see anything in between. Basically, the red values are going to be the areas where sprinkles are going to be. We just want it like sitting on just the top here. We just paint around there, so basically it's just painting on the vertices. Just avoid like, not like a perfect brush, it's kind of just like, because they're different faces. So we just go all the way around the out. So right here, fill in. As you can see, it's not applied yet. It's still everywhere. It's because we haven't referenced it. So if we go back to geometry nodes, we go to data right here, and the vertex group, and basically it's assigned it to this group here. So if we go rename that, believe, yeah, name that sprinkle location like that, and shift A, type in named attribute. That's what you'll need. You can just pop that there. Density max, no, density factor, sorry, can be joined there. Obviously, then we need to assign a name. It's called sprinkle location. And you can see that's directly on the top. Much better. We'll populate that a bit more. Drop the punch up a bit more. Much better. Below it's better. The next problem is that these sprinkles are still quite jagged. This is something we don't want. So we'll just fix that and simply go back to layout, go to sphere, press forward slash to focus on it, and just shade it smooth. Just forward slash again to come out of it. And there we have it, much better. That's much better. So go back to geometry nodes. That's another helpful tip when you're doing geometry nodes. Let's say if you wanted to edit a value, like for instance, let's say we had 2 cakes, right? We got a cake, duplicate it. Not what I meant to do. 1. There we go. Duplicate it. And let's say we don't want them to be perfectly the same. There's a bit of a regular placement of the sprinkles. And we adjusted this. As you can see, it's now editing both of them, which isn't helpful. In order to fix this, we see where it says density max, a little circle, you can join it up to here. And then if we go to modifiers, you see that it says density max there. Yep. It can be changed there. And you just change that value now, or just that one. Yep. And delete that. So now it can be edited from right here, which will be helpful for the next part, which is the fact that if you take a look at our dimensions, the cake is currently 2 meters big. right? But if you reference that to the actual size of cakes, it's probably about 1/10 of that size. So I'm selecting both. You can scale them down by pressing the scale button. And probably wondering how we get it perfectly to 1. You can either control it or snap or increment, in this case by 0.1. Or we can just simply press 0.1 and that works also. Obviously the sphere is now in the way. We'll just move that away for now. All done. I forgot. I want to select everything here, so we just drag over and select everything. You just simply do the same thing again. 0.1. Oh, I had the light selected. We don't want the light selected. We just want whatever's here. So it just stays the right angle. Much better, I'm assuming. So when you actually come to rendering, it's actually at the right reference size. So if there's any objects in the back, it should all have it at the right ensemble or depth perception is the word I was looking for. Depth perception. That's the one. That's correct. Depth perception. So yes, that's what we scaled down. Now, in order to confirm that scale to the world, because at the moment only the object now states that scale, and that's why. So basically, all we need to do is press Control A and press scale. But then the problem is that all the sprinkles have gone, and that's simply because the density, as the geometry notes, density max is applied to whole world. Because the object size normal now, it's not collecting as much density as it would have, so we scale that up. So now it's going to have to be a ridiculous number, and the distance minimum is going to have to drop. Hang on. Now that's been done, we can now change these back to corresponding values, 0.5, much better. Snap them. So that's everything now for randomly placing sprinkles on top of the ice and moving on into the next part. We'll be looking at colouring the sprinkles, and we'll dive more and we'll start to move on more into rendering before we do our layouts. So if we go into rendering mode, you can see it is starting to form very nicely, but we've got a lot of work to go yet. So thanks for staying with me for this far. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next part.